أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على المبعوث رحمة من العالمين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وأنيس نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the Gracious, the Almighty, all praises be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Creator of mankind and the Master of the Day of Judgment. My respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran in Surah Hud, verse number 105, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, يَوْمَ يَأْتِي لَا تَكَلَّمُ نَفْسٌ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ فَمِنْهُمْ شَقِيٌّ وَسَعِيدٌ. The day it comes where no soul will speak except by His permission, and among them will be the wretched and the prosperous. Human beings are always on the search for happiness. Ever since childhood, we constantly search and fulfill our desires in the intent to reach happiness. Whether we attach happiness with the purchase of materialistic objects, or attach happiness to food, or attach happiness to an individual, most motives is that our hope is to be happy. But what has Islam said about happiness? Our discussion tonight will cover the following questions. Number one, is happiness predestined or a choice? 2, what is the meaning of happiness and its limits? And 3, what are the appearances of happiness according to Islamic understanding? We start off with the first point. A lot of us think that happiness is predestined or written for each person. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has destined for me to be happy. Allah has destined for me to live in misery. I cannot change my fate. If Allah predestined for me to be happy, that means that will never change. And if He predestined for me to be unhappy, then that will never change as well. So happiness and misery is something written that we cannot change. But is it really like that? Is happiness something we have no power to change or not? Some might say yes, we have no control. And perhaps some might use to their benefit to prove that point a hadith narrated by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, in where he says, As-sa'idu sa'idun fi batni ummih wa shaqiyyu shaqiyyun fi batni ummih. The prosperous one is he who prospered from when he was in his mother's womb. And the wretched one is he who was wretched from when he was in his mother's womb. So which translates basically that happiness and misery is written and planned to the human being since he was in his mother's womb. So there's no chance to change or make your life any different. Is that the reality though? No. What is predestined, brothers and sisters, is 3 things. Your birth, your childhood, and your death. Your birth is not in your hands. Your childhood until you reach the age of taklif, the age of bulugh, is not in your hands. Your death is not in your hands. However, anything other than these 3 we mentioned, you can control. You can change. It's in your own hands. Your marriage, your studies, your job, your actions, your friends, your surroundings, all of these are in your own hands. It's a painting you draw and you write in your own hands, in your will, and in your choice. There isn't something you are forced to do or predestined to do. Your destiny and your fate is in your hands. Your life is in your hands. And inshallah, we will elaborate on this furthermore when we speak about Laylatul Qadr. As you know, Laylatul Qadr, they say that everything for the human being is destined on that night. So everything that will happen to him during the year is all based on Laylatul Qadr. Inshallah, we'll elaborate on that and we'll explain what that means in our further discussions. Back to the point. With that being said, what is meant by the hadith we mentioned narrated by Rasulullah, where it seems that happiness and misery is something predestined for the human being? We all know that humans are made from DNA. And this DNA, brothers and sisters, determines our physical characteristics. But does that mean if our father is ill-tempered, if my father, for example, is ill-tempered, does that mean I will inherit that too? Does that mean if my father is kind, that I am going to be kind? Does that mean if my father is brave, that I'm going to be brave? No, not necessarily. We all know that the environment that we are raised in has an influence on who we can become, but it's not an ultimatum. If your parents are bad-tempered, then you are born with the possibility of being influenced by them, but not necessarily just like them. So these traits are passed on to you in a way which allows you or gives you the ability to choose to be like that. Not that it's passed to you indefinitely. You may be influenced, but your mentality, the way you live, the way you live your life, and the way you act, all this can change your outcome. If I was able to control myself, if I was able to be patient and calm, then I can become the complete opposite of what my father was, for example. Same thing when it comes to happiness and misery. I have the potential or ability to be happy, and I have the power and the ability as well to become miserable. But it's not 100% certain. Maybe the potential and power to be is kind of like a step ahead. The ability and power is in your hands though, to make yourself happy or miserable. In an authentic hadith by one of the noble companions of Imam Al-Kadhim Salamullahi alayhi, by the name of Ibn Abi Umayr, he says, he asks the Holy Prophet, he asks the Imam Salamullahi alayhi, what is meant by the hadith that the Holy Prophet says, the prosperous is he who is prospered from when he is in his mother's womb, and the wretched one is he who was wretched from when he was in his mother's womb. The Imam Salamullahi alayhi replies, he says the wretched one is he who from when he was in his mother's womb, Allah knew he would commit acts characteristic of wretched people. And the prosperous one is he who from when he was in his mother's womb, Allah knew that he will perform acts characteristic of prosperous people. So this fetus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that he grows up, he will choose with his own will and his own freedom and his own choice the path of happiness or the path of misery. This is the meaning of the hadith, as-sa'id sa'idun fi batni ummih, wash-shaqi shaqiyyun fi batni ummih. And so if the day of judgment comes and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَوْمَ يَأْتِ لَا تَكَلَّمُ نَفْسٌ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ فَمِنْهُمْ شَقِيٌّ وَسَعِيدٌ, the day it comes where no soul will speak except by His permission, by Allah's permission, and among them will be the wretched and the prosperous. From them are those who drew their path, a path to happiness, and those who drew their path, a path of misery. So this is the first point, brothers and sisters, regarding our discussion, that happiness is not predestined. Happiness is in your own hands. Moving forward, what is the true meaning of happiness and misery? Now, our ulama believe that there are two definitions to happiness and misery. One, the first, is that happiness is a mental state. It's not about having status. It's not about having beauty or wealth. It's something within the mind. It's all in the mind. They say that happiness is the feeling of being content, of being satisfied. You know the famous saying, money cannot buy you happiness. We've heard this a lot, right? It's funny, on the side note here, one time I was speaking with one of my friends, and I was telling him about this. You know, it's not all about the money and what car you have and whatnot. It's all about being content. And this person, this friend of mine, he tells me, brother, look, I'd rather cry in a Lamborghini than cry in a Honda Civic. So it kind of matters to me a bit, doesn't it? Nonetheless, brothers and sisters, it's not about what you have. It's all about being content in what you have. There's a nice example we can give here. Maysoon, the wife of Muawiyah ibn Sufyan. Muawiyah had a wife that was named Maysoon, and she came from a poor background. She used to live in the desert. And after she was married to Muawiyah, she lived in a palace. She had servants, she had all the wealth, all the jah, all the luxury surrounding her. But does that mean that she was happy? Does that mean she was impressed? She was unimpressed actually by the luxury and missed that nomadic life. She used to live that Bedouin life on the desert. And she writes a poem I'd like to share, brothers and sisters, and read. She says, "A flapping tent with a breeze that's cool delights me more than a palace high, and more the cloak of simple wool than robes in which I've learned to sigh." Happiness then is a feeling, something mental. It's your mindset. It's not about what you have and what you don't have. That's why the Holy Prophet ﷺ says being content is a treasure that will never get destroyed. Al-qana'a kanzun la yafna. It's a treasure. This is the first definition. The second definition of happiness is the harmonious surrounding. And what is meant by the harmonious surrounding? The environment or the setting which contains in it those factors and which allow you to live in harmony. That is a happy environment and a happy society. For example, how does your child become happy? When do you say, my child is happy? When he lives in an environment of harmony. And in that environment, there should be food, affection. He should go to school, health, you should show him love and affection. All of these are elements and factors that play a role in making him live in that harmonious environment we are talking about. So the environment which has these elements, has these factors, is a happy environment. Your child, if he or she lived in such environment, then they live a happy life. These are the two definitions that are mentioned when it comes to happiness. But what does Islam really say about happiness? How does Islam theorize happiness and misery? A lot of us, as we said, view happiness is to have wealth and money. Happiness is to have a beautiful wife, or for the woman to have a caring husband. Happiness is to have fame, to become popular, to be something big, to have a status in front of people. Is that really happiness though? This is fake happiness. This is temporary happiness. What is the definition of real happiness then? We see, brothers and sisters, if we go to the Quran, we see that there are two terms mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Holy Quran and focuses on. The first is al-malakuti and the second is malaki. So malaki happiness and malakuti happiness. Every human being has these two elements, mulki and malakuti. The mulki element is the physical element, our body. For example, our body is malaki element. Why? Because it is physical. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Mulk says, تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكُ وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Blessed is he in whose hands is the domination of the universe, the physical, and who has power over everything. The world of mulk is the physical world, the world we can see, we can touch, we can smell, we can feel. This is the first element. The second element is the malakuti, which is the ruh, the nafs, the soul. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this regard, فَسُبْحَانَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ مَلَكُوتُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. So exalted is he on whose hand is the realm of all things, and to him you will be returned. So we have malaki and malakuti elements. Thus we have malaki happiness and malakuti happiness. So we have an outside happiness and an inner happiness, real happiness. The outer happiness is the availability of the day-to-day necessities to the person in order to live a comfortable life. In other words, the outer happiness is the healthy environment, meaning if you live in an environment where you have the basic necessities in life, then you are happy. However, even this can differ from person to person. You know, the standards are different. A person might say, for me to live a basic life, well, my basic necessities in life is to live in a mansion, to have the latest car, to have the latest phone, to have the latest gadget, whatever it may be. So what is then the real happiness? It is the malakuti happiness. It is the inner happiness. This happiness focuses on four main aspects. The first is the holy household. A happy household is the path to your happiness. And reflect upon this, brothers and sisters. We have a lot of hadith regarding to this, which talk about this. One hadith by Imam Sadiq salamullahi alayhi, and where he says from the happiness of the person is the wife that performs her obligations, and the kids that are obedient to their parents, and the friends you accompany yourself with to be virtuous, and to be close to your family. These are the elements of the happy family that I will expand on, inshallah. So the first is the wife that can cope with any circumstances, that does not restrict you. Your wife that is willing to sacrifice for you, that is willing to be with you at all times, in every state you are in, whether you're poor, you're sick, you're rich, you're healthy, in all conditions. This is the trait, by the way, we mentioned that Sayyidah Khadija embodied the ultimate love she had for Rasulullah, that she was willing to do anything for the sake of Rasulullah, for Rasulullah to be comfortable, for Rasulullah to be happy. So if one has that, if your wife has that, then you are happy, then you are comfortable. You know, as the golden rule says, happy wife equals happy life. Keep that in mind. Second is the children that are obedient, that they do not wish to displease you, and they strive to be in your presence, to bring comfort to you, to bring joy to your heart, to love you, to help you out, especially when you grow older and you need someone to take care of you. This is the second. The third is your friends, those who are the source of happiness and misery, those who you are able to turn for them for advice in all occasions, those who can help you, those who can bring you closer to God, those who can lead you to the tariq al-haq, to the path of truth. Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi says, tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you are. Also, Imam al-Sajjad salamullahi alayhi, Imam Zayn al-Abidin says there are 5 people that you should not be friends with, you that you should not accompany yourself with. Let's mention them quickly. The first is the bakhil, is the stingy, is the greedy, for he will prevent you from the most important thing you may need. Why? Because he's not willing to pay. He's stingy, he's greedy. All he cares is about himself. The second is the fool, for he will try to help you, but instead he will do the opposite. He will harm you instead, and he will hurt you. The third is the liar. He will act as a mirage. He will bring what looks far as close, and he will make what's far close. This is the third. The fourth is the kha'in, the betrayer, the one who's willing to sell you for anything, the one who doesn't respect an agreement. He can't keep his word. You know, any certain opportunity he gets, he betrays you. He doesn't care about you anymore. You'd be with him, friends for years and years, but in some certain situation, khalas, he'll just forget about you, and he'll betray you and leave you in the problems you are facing and not care about you. So these are the friends that the Imam salamullahi alayhi tells us not to be friends with. So the first element to this real happiness, as we said, consists of your household, your wife, your children, and your friends. The second element, and this is important as well, is your social setting. How active are you within the community? How much do you help in the community? How much are you in the community a helper? Imam Sadiq salamullahi alayhi says from happiness is to put your service to and give it to people, to provide projects to those people who will appreciate it and grow from it, not to those who will put you down and demolish it. It's important, brothers and sisters. This is a very important point for us to be part of the community, be part of the society, be proactive, help in the community. We owe the community. The least we can do is help our youth, help each other, help our brothers and sisters, especially if we have the ability and the capability and the knowledge to do so. It kind of comes it kind of becomes obligatory upon us if there's no one to take that responsibility. We have to be there, we have to act, we have to take the initiative, brothers and sisters. Imam al-Khomeini, may Allah bless his soul, has a very famous saying, which is very nice. He says that I do not know any act of worship better than helping others, helping people. Khidmat al-Mu'mineen. So the second element to this real happiness is your social settings, and this is very important. Keep this in mind, brothers and sisters. Inshallah, we can learn from this, and inshallah, after this pandemic calms down, how everything returns back to normal, we should try to be more active in the community, in the markaz, in the committees, and try to play a role in society. The third element to this real happiness, and this is the most important, is your spiritual focus. As happiness starts from the inside, not from the outside. To be happy inside, where you are content, you're optimistic, you take the happiness from your inside, from your batin, and you portray it to the outside, to your zahir. No, a man's happiness is in his ability to remember God very easily, to always perform his wajibat, his acts of worship. There are a'mal in which makes the heart at ease, especially in Shahr Ramadan, brothers and sisters, such as Salat al-Layl, Tasbihat Sayyid al-Zahra, to remember God constantly in every action we do. In Shahr Ramadan, this is what we're supposed to do. This is the goal. We're supposed to grow spiritually. We have to reach that level of taqwa. We have to remember God. The dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us happy, makes us content. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'innul qulub." By the remembrance of God, the hearts are assured, they are happy, they are content. You see, brothers and sisters, if we look in the world, we look around us, you see a lot of rich people, actors, celebrities, artists, rappers, whoever it may be. They have the money, they have the fame, they have everything in their life. They can get whatever they want, whenever they want. They're living the life. But at the same time, you always hear here and there, divorces, they're doing drugs, they're in fights, they go to jail, a lot of problems surrounding them. And if you go and see the statistics, it's a lot. Why, brothers and sisters? Why do you think that's happening? Because there's that, spirituality that's missing. And this is what differs us as Muslims, especially as followers of the Ahlul Bayt, where we have the du'as, we have the Holy Quran, which we can refer to in every moment, in whatever state we are feeling. We can refer to the Quran, we can refer to the munajat, we can read the munajat. There's a munajat literally for every state that person's going through. You feel thankful, do munajat al-shakireen. You feel you want to complain to Allah, munajat al-shakireen. There's so much. You want to perform tawbah, read dua al-tawbah. So much dua, so much a'mal we can do. We need that spirituality, brothers and sisters. It is important for us to feel happy, and that spirituality is what makes us happy. That connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the end, He's the creator of mankind. Everything's in His hands. So the power is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should aim to be as close as we can to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to reach that level of perfection, as we mentioned, brothers and sisters. And remember that every amal, every act we do, let it be sincere. For as Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullahi alayhi, says, prosperous is he who is sincere in his acts of obedience. This is the third element. The fourth and last element, brothers and sisters, of true happiness is for your ending to be good. Your life, your journey may be filled with trials and sins. However, until the last day of your life, you may do a pious action. You might do a pious action in which you will end your life with happiness. Or at the same time, perhaps you may live with good deeds all your life, doing a'mal, doing all these mustahabbat, praying on time, being very religious, doing all your obligations. However, on the last day of your life, you decide to do an evil deed. You decide to disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you'll die on that state. There's a nice story I'd like to mention here quickly. It is said that one time there was these two students who were studying together in the seminary. They were both bright-minded. One of them was smarter than the others, however, and he would help the other student. They were in the same class. He would help him, he would teach him sometimes, give him extra lessons, support him, help him understand the lesson. Years passed. They all, went in different directions. One of them, the student that wasn't that smart, became a mujtahid, became a scholar, a very big scholar. He had knowledge, he had ilm, he grew during these years. And it is said that a person comes to him and he tells him that Fulan is sick, he's very sick, and he's asking for you to come. And who is that Fulan? It was his old friend, his old schoolmate that used to study with him. So he goes, visits him. He sees this person on his deathbed. This person tells the alim, he tells him, you know what? I do not believe in God anymore. I do not believe in the Holy Quran. I don't think God's just, by the way. Allah is not adil. How is it that I was smarter than you? I used to teach you. Everything you have is probably from me. And yet you become a scholar, a big marja, you're respectable, everyone knows you, and you're something big, and I'm little, I'm nothing. Why is that? And it is said, brothers and sisters, that this person dies as a disbeliever in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his last moments. Imagine, brothers, it's because of the jealousy that sometimes may affect the human being, brothers and sisters. You might do an intention, you might do it qurbatan Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but sometimes the shaitan can come in and change your intention. Am I really doing it for Allah, or am I doing it to elevate myself so people can say, look at Fulan, mashallah, is a big sheikh, big scholar, big professor, whatever it may be. So we have to be careful, brothers and sisters. Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi says, true happiness is for the individual to end his life in happiness of good deeds, and the true misery is to end his life in sin. With that being said, brothers and sisters, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we can end our life in happiness, in doing good, in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and doing our wajibat, and staying away from the muharramat. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the guidance and the tawfiq, and we ask Him to elevate us to the highest levels of taqwa and iman. Innahu sami'un mujib. Walhamdulillah, wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So let us start with the questions. There was quite a number of questions from last time I wasn't able to answer. Inshallah, I'll try to answer as much as I can. This time we'll give it more time. The first question says, what would have happened if Adam never ate the apple from the tree in heaven? Well, this question is obviously theoretical. The incident occurred, Adam ate from the tree, we're in this world, we're all Banu Adam, what happened, happened. We can all make our own image or our own story, or have our own perspective as what could have happened. I'm going to answer this question from a different perspective, from a different angle. We see, brothers and sisters, a lot of times, or a lot of us, in fact, have a misunderstanding when it comes to the story of Adam alayhi salam. And a lot of this is based on, because of the movies and the books we read, and there's always that Christian background, because the Christians, if you read some of the Bible, they believe that Adam sinned. So we're used to this, that Adam sinned, that Adam disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, this goes against our Islamic understanding. As you remember, in the second lecture we spoke about prophethood, and we said how prophethood and nubuwwah is one of the usul ad-din, the fundamentals of our religion. And the belief in prophethood means that we believe that the anbiya, that the prophets are ma'soobeen, they're infallible. And what does infallible mean? Infallible means that he cannot commit a sin, he cannot disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our understanding, our belief when it comes to the story of Adam did not sin, that Adam did not perform a ma'siyah. Now there's different interpretations, because in some of the verses the word asa is mentioned clearly. However, there's different interpretations to the story. One of the interpretations, one of the tafsir, is that this whole incident occurred in Jannah, and in Jannah there's no taklif, there's no wajib and haram and mustahab and whatnot, so it doesn't matter if Adam didn't do what was right, or if he disobeyed. There's no taklif, so this doesn't go against the asma of the Prophet. However, some consider this answer weak. The answer I would like to mention very quickly, I'll try to summarize it because it needs a lot of introduction, is the tafsir that Imam Khomeini mentions. And he says that the best situation, or the only situation that could have happened, is for Adam to eat from that tree. And how is that, brothers and sisters? If we read the verses of the Quran regarding the story of Adam alayhi salam, in the beginning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, "Inni ja'alun fil ardi khalifa," that I will, in this earth, I will give a successful authority. A successful authority will be made on this earth. And after it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the story of Adam alayhi salam. And he says that Adam alayhi salam is in the perfect situation. He has the food, he has the shelter, he has the shelter, he has everything. He's in the perfect state, perfect situation. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, if you eat, however, from that tree, you will live in shaqa, in misery. So that tree basically is the tree of dunya, that takes you to the dunya. So you will lose all of those blessings, all of those ni'am you have. Now it is said that Adam, in a conversation he has with the malaika, with the angels, he hears this. And Adam, as mentioned in the Quran, had knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him knowledge of the asma. وَعَلَّمَ Adam al-asma. So in a conversation with the malaika, with the angels, he knows that there will be a successful authority on earth. إِنِّي جَعَلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. So with that said, brothers and sisters, Iblis, Shaitan, did whisper to Adam to eat from that tree. However, after Adam alayhi salam knowing this, Adam was in the best of states, as I said, in the best of situations. He has everything. He has the perfect life. He was put in that perfect situation. But at the same time, when Iblis whispered to Adam, Adam had the choice. Will I stay in this perfect situation, this perfect scenario, this perfect life I am in, or will I go to the dunya, to earth, eat from this tree, this earthly tree, which takes me to the earth, which brings me down, me and my wife, and I have to search for food, and I have to search for shelter, and I have to find clothes and whatnot. I have to go through misery, I have to go through bala, I have to go through adab, I have to struggle, and then reach the perfection where I was before. And so he eats that tree, and he knows, remember, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. He knows that there will be a successful authority for Allah, and he is the successful authority, so he decides to eat from that tree so he can reach his perfection and higher level of perfections through shaqa, through the struggle of his. And this is a tafsir mentioned by some of our ulama, which I find very interesting. Basically, this changed the whole view, our whole understanding of the story, that Adam, it's true that Iblis whispered for him, but that was the decision, that was the best situation that could have happened for Adam to go down to earth, and for Adam to reach perfection going through this bala and going through this adab. So this is one of the opinions that some of our ulama mentions, and you can refer to the tafsir to see other interpretations regarding this topic. This is the first question. The second question says, was Iblis good as an angel before he refused to prostrate to Adam or not? MashaAllah, a lot of questions about Prophet Adam and his story. In fact, Iblis, yes, he was a good angel before He refused to prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, some of the narrations say that Iblis worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 6,000 years. Imagine 6,000 years, and they say that those years, it is unknown if they are years of the dunya or years of the akhirah. In this dunya, the year is 365 days. However, in the akhirah, who knows? Maybe it's much more. So that was how much ibadah that Iblis, shaitan, did. Iblis was a abid. Iblis, it is said, he was at the fourth level of Jannah, and he would recite, he would prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would perform sujood, and he would worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was at that level. But you know the story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to perform sujood to Adam, and he refused to do so, even though it's very important to point here that Iblis told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you exempt me from this, if you let this go, just let me not do this, I will be the biggest abid. I will worship you in a way where no one has ever worshipped you, all day, all night. Just let this one pass. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him and commanded him and the malaika to prostrate to Adam, and he refused because of his jealousy. How am I, Iblis, supposed to prostrate to Adam? Who is Adam? I am greater than him. I am a better creation than him, because of his jealousy and envy. So this is regarding the second question. The other question, brothers and sisters, that says, when and why did the Muslims change the Qibla from Palestine to Kaaba? And this is a very interesting question. As you know, the Qibla, before, we used to pray towards Al-Quds, towards Palestine. Before it was towards Al-Kaaba, towards the Masjid Al-Haram. And it is said that the Muslims prayed in that way, in that direction, for 13 years. And the Jews were actually the first to pray in that direction. So first the Jews used to pray in that direction, and then the Muslims did so. So what happened is basically the Jews, they used to kind of make fun of the Muslims, and they would try to tell them, look, your religion isn't correct, your religion is not right. Now you pray towards the direction where we pray, and we prayed before you and whatnot. And this got the Holy Prophet, this made the Prophet upset. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals the verse in where He tells him, we will make a qibla for you and where you will be satisfied. And it is said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down Jibreel, and Jibreel descends as the Prophet is praying towards Al-Quds, towards Palestine. The angel Jibreel, he moves the Prophet towards Al-Masjid Al-Haram, towards Mecca. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals the verse, and this is when the Qibla for the Muslimin becomes towards Al-Masjid Al-Haram, towards Al-Kaaba. So basically this salat that the Muslims were praying behind Rasulullah, half of it was towards Palestine, towards Al-Qudus, and the other half was towards Mecca, towards Al-Masjid Al-Haram. And that's how the Qibla changed from Palestine to the Kaaba, towards Mecca. Regarding the, I don't know what question is, fourth, can girls read Quran during the menstruation cycle? Now, according to Sayyid Al-Qa'id, it is permissible to do so. It is permissible to read Quran when you are in such state. However, it is makruh to read more than 7 verses. And when I say it is permissible to read Quran, of course, excluding the ayat which are known as ayat al-sajda. There's 4 surahs in the Quran which are known as surah al-azaim, in which in them there is a verse which is obligatory for one to perform sujood if he hears it. And those 4 surahs are Surah al-Sajda, Surah Fussilat, Surah al-Najm, and Surah al-Alaq. Surah al-Alaq. So other than reading these ayat from these surah, it is permissible, but like I said, more than 7 ayat is makruh. The last question we have here, why do we not recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim at the beginning of Surah At-Tawbah? As you know, brothers and sisters, in the Holy Quran we have 114 surahs. And before every surah we start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the merciful, the beneficent. Except Surah At-Tawbah, which is also known as Surah Bara'ah. And to understand the reasoning why it is like that. We have to see the incident and when this holy surah came down. It is a speech directed to the kuffar, to the mushrikeen, to the disbelievers, the ones who do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically telling them, bara'atun min Allah wa rasulih. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is removing them from His mercy. So His mercy doesn't include these people. His mercy is not for those people. Bara'atun. So with that said, brothers and sisters, it doesn't quite flow when you're speaking, you're directing your speech towards the enemies, and you're showing your power and your strength and your authority, to start with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and then disassociate yourself from those people. It just doesn't make sense. So you're saying Allah is merciful, and at the same time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't include these people in His mercy. So it doesn't flow, it doesn't work. It's actually, it's kind of against logic. It doesn't work that way. As well, some Mufassirin, some say that these surah are one. So the surah before it, which I think is Surah Al-Anfal, they say it's a continuation for Surah Al-Anfal. So that's the reason and why it doesn't have Basmala. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, when it comes to punishment, when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafoor, is Rahim, is merciful, is forgiving, but at the same time He is Shadidul Iqab. And when it is time for punishment, when punishment is needed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ashaddul Mu'aqibin. That's why we read in Dua al-Iftitah, Ashaddul Mu'aqibin fi mawdi' al-nakali wal-naqima. What does that mean? That when it comes to punishment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ashaddul Mu'aqibin. He punishes the human being. Not always can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use His mercy with people. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to use His justice, and the belief in justice, in the adalah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is from usul al-deen, as we mentioned, to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just. That's why in some of the du'as, in some of the supplications we read, we say, Ya Allah, please do not punish me with your justice, rather with your mercy, bi rahmatik. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, as we said before, has the jalali attributes and the jamali attributes. When it's needed to use the jamali attributes, when He's showing His ghufran, His rahmah, His mercy towards people, He uses them, and He uses that speech of rahmah. However, at times He has to show power and strength, or else if Allah is going to always show His mercy to everyone, then no one will go to heaven, no one will go to hell, and this goes against the justice and the adalah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for that point, for that reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't start with basmala in this surah, because He's disassociating Himself from the kuffar and the mushrikeen and the disbelievers in Him. So His mercy, they cannot be included in His mercy and in His forgiveness. With that being said, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله والحمد لله رب العالمين.